Hello kindred longevity lifestyle designers, this is Zach here with secretsoflongevity.com, and this is another Q&A session, and the first one is from Michael, and he's inquiring about my experience with just looking at any biochemistry links or dietary links, lifestyle links between health and PTSD, which is post-traumatic stress disorder. So just like I'd say, like any other emotional trauma or physical trauma or mental trauma, the healing process, which is going to take time, is going to be best approached with a whole lifestyle plan that's going to work on every aspect of our being so that we can bring this into alignment with the fastest and most complete healing of that issue. I personally don't have any experience working with clients or people online with this issue. I'm not familiar with what the common treatments are for it, even in the mainstream model, but I do know that, just like any other issue, a raw living food plan is going to optimize the healing, especially, as you say, a Hippocrates type diet, which is going to be getting lots of green juices, which are very enlivening to the cells of the body. It will increase the rate of healing, help flush out toxins from the body that might accumulate after a stressful event like that, and help regulate the hormones of adrenaline and cortisol and those things. Of course, there's herbs you can take to help that along. And other than that, there's not much else I can add to that. I'd love to hear your findings on it, so keep up the work and keep me posted. The next question's from Ronald, and they're asking what I do on my birthday, since I don't talk to people about my age. And yeah, it's true. If you've seen my past videos or come up to me and asked how old I am, for instance, I generally, unless you're a government official, I won't tell you my age. I'll say something like, it's against my religious beliefs to not speak about my age, or something. That's more something I'll say to someone who's asking me that, and I don't feel like I want to get into a big conversation. But I'm open to talking about it, of course. And most people that would ask me that, and I say, they say, oh, is it okay if I ask you how old you are? And then most people assume you're going to be okay with that, and you say, no, I'm not. They're a little taken aback, and I usually go into it, and I describe the fact that it's sort of like an experiment on myself, just to see the effects within my whole lifestyle approach if I just drop referencing my own age from my own verbal means. Also, I think about it less as a result of that, and I just don't engage with people on that level. I do remember when it's my birthday, when that time is coming around. I try not to make a big deal of it. The last couple of years, I really haven't done anything to celebrate. Family has obviously acknowledged it, and I accept gifts from people who know me that want to still do that for me. But I don't go out of my way to do things like that. But I do more and more find I'm wanting to celebrate high achievements. And this is, I get this idea completely from Peter Ragnar. I'll give him full credit for this. It's a wonderful experiment that he has been undergoing for quite some time, I believe. And I would encourage you to check out his work, Peter Ragnar, and let me know what you think if you ever come across where he's talking about that in his work. You'd have to go into specifically where he talks about longevity and life extension. But I mean, yeah, some of my close friends know my age. Obviously my family does. So it's not really that big of a deal if someone does know it or they talk to me about it. I just make it clear why I'm doing it, because it's an experiment to see if it affects my lifestyle in a positive way, because of the fact that I'm not referencing time. Now, Stephen Wilmus has asked, what do I think of the paleo diet, and is it possible to bring in sort of a raw food vegan approach to it and replace all the meat in their ideology with algae? So the paleo diet, I mean, there's different fractions as far as from what I've seen. There's like primal, where I believe they eat everything raw, but there's a lot of, they're really heavy on the raw animal products. Sometimes they eat dairy, sometimes they don't. They definitely eat lots of nuts, seeds, berries, and plenty of vegetable matter, of course, and some fruit. But in terms of the way the diet is structured, it's very heavy on the meat, raw meat or cooked meat, or however they choose to consume it. Now, in terms of replacing all that meat that forms the foundation of the paleo or primal diet, perhaps 50 to 60% of the calories, replacing all of that with algae would be quite unsustainable. Just thinking about that, like if you're getting 1,500 calories a day from meat, that's going to be way too much algae, and you just cannot do that even if you're consuming multiple different kinds and spreading it out over those different types. At most, I would only recommend 1 to 2 tablespoons of spirulina a day, 1 tablespoon of chlorella a day, and like a tablespoon of blue-green algae, whatever other algae you might be consuming. So the purpose between consuming algae isn't a massive calorie source. Maybe there's a day or two, or if you're going through a specific cleanse, that you want to take higher amounts of a specific type of algae for a period of time. Maybe one day you have a meal where spirulina is the dominant protein source, but doing that day in, day out, from my personal experience, isn't sustainable, and you get really sick of that food quickly because it's such a concentrated source of nutrients. So to really make the paleo diet vegan or more plant-based, you just switch the meat out and bring in the plant matter, specifically that which is very dense in the higher caloric side of things. So yes, a little bit more algae, but also a lot more nuts and seeds, and heavy on the green seaweed, salads, sprouts, green juice, and that's going to be able to get you sort of that more complete protein that's well-rounded. But the whole ideology between primal or paleo eating is that you're getting a lot of the animal fats as well, and there's a difference in terms of the thoughts around saturated fat from these two different groups. One group thinks it's bad, one group thinks it's the best thing going. Now that's just my thoughts on these topics. Go out there, do your own research. If you are looking to play around with your diet, be careful. Make slow, gradual choices in terms of what you're changing in your diet, because drastic changes are going to affect your body in such big ways you're not going to know whether it's affecting you for the better or the worse. A lot of people who are out there speaking very vocally about their specific dietary path, you see them changing it all the time, very drastically, and they're saying, oh, this is the best, the way things should be, and then somewhere else, oh, this is even better. And you know, you really can't tell after a week of doing something whether it's going to be the thing you do for the rest of your life. Of course, our diets and lifestyles change through the seasons, through the changes of our life circumstances, and so will our diet. But it's what I find people are really searching for, is sort of that framework to work around that they feel they want to have for the rest of their life. I think that's a very viable and truthful thing to be searching for. Now, whether there is something like that exists or not, that's yet to be proven, because there's, as we look out into the world of nutrition, there's so many people talking about so many different things. You just have to explore and see what works for you and get multiple opinions on it. Twisted Barney asks whether you have to be wealthy and have a lot of money to eat a raw food diet, and my response is that you can eat any diet and make it really cheap and affordable, or you can make it very expensive and over the top in the way you spend your money. I mean, if you have the money and it isn't a drain on your financial health, then spending extra bits on a lot of different things might be fine. But obviously a lot of people aren't in that situation, especially those who are coming into making lifestyle choices because they're often sick to begin with, and that's been a process that has gradually brought them to this place, and they probably had been less and less able to work, and they've been less and less able to earn enough for themselves, and so they come into raw food looking for help, and some of them people do get turned away because they think it might be too expensive. Now if you're really, like, literally on welfare, organic isn't going to be your top priority. If you're wanting to try and get onto raw food, you're going to really want to focus on farmers markets where you're going to get cheaper produce than your local grocery store. Yeah, just start with very basic recipes like salads. I mean, a lot of stuff I don't talk about much on my channel because it's so basic, and I personally am not that interested in sharing that stuff, because you can go to anyone else's channel here on YouTube who's talking about raw food and you can see them doing that. You know, eat some fruit, don't go overboard. Get nuts and seeds raw, preferably organic. Make sure you absolutely do soak them beforehand for 8 hours. Do that at night. Figure out what you're going to eat the next day and soak any nuts and seeds you want to use. I wouldn't go over 3/4 of a cup total of nuts and seeds for the day. And if I wouldn't do that day in and day out, I'd take days off, or days with less amounts, some days with up to a cup maybe. But soaking is really key, because so many people end up bashing nuts and seeds for the reason that they were eating them without soaking them in the first place. You know, create a budget for yourself and just stick to it. Figure out how much you want to spend per month and sort of estimate how much you can buy per week out of that monthly budget, and then sort of plan your recipes for the week. Definitely the cheapest thing in terms of food consumption that a lot of people say, oh, it's too expensive to eat raw. Well, if you're eating just rice and beans all the time, yes, it is going to be more expensive to eat more produce, fresh, whole produce, because rice is a few cents to a little over $1 per pound, depending on what type it is, organic or not. And then a bag of apples could be $4 if it's a couple pounds. So it's hard to compare, but then you also have to look at what's healthier, what's going to give the most benefits, what's going to be taking away from your health or detracting from it. So from the standpoint of if you're already on a complete budget, non-organic rice and beans diet, because of whatever's going on in your life, then yes, you're probably going to have a hard time moving over to raw food. But if you are consuming, packaged meat that might not be organic, but meat in the grocery store is going to be more expensive than the produce, because that animal is more energy intensive in its production, even when it's factory farmed. And by all means, I'd say get rid of the factory farm meat and eggs and dairy at all costs, and replace that with raw, whole, preferably organic foods. If you want to consume some animal foods, I'd encourage that as well if you can find them in your locale. Grass-fed, organic, raw, least hybridized as possible. It's up to you whether you consume animal flesh or not. I personally don't at this time. A lot of things I speak about in terms of herbs and superfoods and elixirs and even supplements in some cases when I talk about them, those are like the icing on the cake. Definitely it's the diet, the food, the whole food that you're eating that is the foundation of what it is you're doing, and it can make the biggest impact if it's not in proper alignment first. And then a lot of these other things, which can actually detract and take up a certain amount of the caloric needs of your daily diet, but they're going to be less of a priority unless you're just wanting to add those into regular sort of standard American diet, or if you're wanting to add them into any other type of diet you might be eating already. But that can be where people think it is too expensive. And in that case, you want to look for bulk items, order online at places where you can find the best deals. Specifically, look at organic bulk nuts and seeds online. Go in with friends in your community to order bulk seeds. We do that here with some friends around here. Order bulk superfoods. I mean, you've seen my massive bag. That's going to last me probably a year. And I won't have to buy cacao at all in that time period. Plus, I also do live demonstrations at times, so that is actually something that I need for that purpose. So that was my more of my drive to get that for sharing with others in that way. So with that being said, go out there and explore these things I just talked about. Take things slow, add things in slowly that you feel you're attracted to, that make you feel good. You don't need to go crazy overnight unless you're specifically drawn to doing that, in which case it might be the right thing to do. Or follow what someone's giving you in terms of guidance for your unique position, because I don't have you in front of me. I'm not looking at your body type, your skin, and your certain state of health from where you are at in that moment in time, so I can't make any general recommendations of what you should do. But if you're interested in that, you can give me a call or send me an email. I've got a link below this video in the drop-down menu bar, and it can pop down if you click that little button, and you'll see a link to my consultation page, and I've got options for phone or email consultations, whatever works best for you. And we can really go into more depth of what it is you're looking for in terms of your lifestyle, whether it's diet, herbal, superfood, supplement regimen. You want to look at your exercise, whether it's mental or physical. If you want a program that's specifically tailored for your needs, I can help you with that. With that being said, I'm going to say take care and embrace life without limits.